You're constantly learning, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's for your job, maybe picking up a new hobby, or just because you're curious about something.
Absolutely. Learning is just part of life.
But here's a question I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
What if the way you've always done it, the way you learned in school, isn't actually the best way? What if there are actual, like, science-backed strategies that could help you learn pretty much anything faster? And, crucially, remember it for longer?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. This whole deep dive is about sort of transforming your learning experience.
Okay.
We're going to unpack some really powerful techniques straight from cognitive science. Things like active recall, spaced repetition.
Heard of those.
Yeah, and also this fascinating idea called desirable difficulties. Basically, our mission today is to show you how to genuinely master information, not just, cram it in and hope for the best.
Right, cramming and forgetting. We've all been there. And it seems like a lot of this goes against what feels right intuitively.
It really does. Some common study habits, the ones we often default to, might actually be holding you back.
So we'll look at what to do instead.
Exactly. We're drawing on decades of research here: brain health, how people learn languages, peak performance studies. The goal is to equip you with actionable strategies.
So you can become a more productive, more confident, and just genuinely better informed learner.
Precisely. So where should we start?
Let's kick off with that first one you mentioned, active recall. What is that exactly?
Okay, so active recall. Instead of just passively, rereading your notes or highlighting paragraphs.
Guilty.
Yeah, we all are. Active recall means you are actively pulling information out of your memory. It's like testing yourself as you learn. Constantly.
Okay, so hang on. You're saying the effort of trying to remember something, that struggle, that's what makes the memory stick.
Yeah.
Not just seeing the information again.
Exactly. That cognitive effort, that moment where you have to really search your brain for the answer, that's what builds stronger memory pathways. Research is super clear on this. It significantly boosts long-term retention compared to just passive review. Your brain has to work harder, and that work pays off.
So the benefits are better memory, obviously.
Improved memory, better comprehension, definitely better performance on tests or exams, if that's relevant, increased confidence.
And just a deeper understanding overall, I guess.
A much deeper understanding, because the real learning isn't happening when you just look at the information. It happens when you force your brain to produce it.
Okay, I can see that. So like for history, instead of just rereading the chapter on, say, World War II,
right,
you'd close the book and try to actually recount the key events and maybe why they mattered from memory.
Perfect example. Or if you're learning Spanish, try forming sentences without constantly peeking at your vocab list.
Force yourself to retrieve the word.
Exactly. Retrieve, don't just recognize.
Is there a specific method for this?
Well, yeah, a really powerful one is called the Feynman technique, named after the physicist Richard Feynman.
Oh.
It's basically 4 steps. First, you pick a concept you want to understand. Then you grab a blank sheet of paper and write down everything you think you know about it.
Okay. Mapping it out.
Yep. Step 2. Try to teach that concept, explain it, but imagine you're explaining it to a 12-year-old. Use simple language.
The simplification test.
Exactly. If you can't explain it simply using analogies, you probably don't understand it deeply enough yourself. And this step, it really shines a light on the gaps in your knowledge. Instantly.
That's where the learning happens, right? Finding the gap.
Precisely. So step 3 is review and refine. Go back to your source material, your textbook, notes, whatever, specifically focusing on those weak spots you just identified. Then try explaining it again, simply.
Got it. And the last step?
Test and archive. Try teaching it to someone else for real, or just explain it out loud again to yourself. Refer back to your notes only if you absolutely get stuck.
So the whole process forces you to externalize, organize.
Yeah, it organizes your thoughts, makes you think better, and it makes those knowledge gaps painfully obvious. It can be surprisingly humbling.
I bet. Okay, so that's active recall. What about the timing aspect? You mentioned spaced repetition.
Right, spaced repetition. This builds beautifully on active recall. It's sometimes called the spacing effect, and honestly, it's probably one of the most robust, most replicated findings in all of psychology.
Okay. What's the core idea?
The core idea is that learning is much more effective when your practice sessions are spread out over time. Distributed practice, not crammed into one marathon session.
Right, the opposite of the all-nighter before an exam.
Exactly the opposite. It's about revisiting the material you learned using active recall, but at gradually increasing intervals. So maybe you review something after a day, then after 3 days, then a week, then 2 weeks, and so on.
It feels counterintuitive, though, doesn't it? Like, shouldn't you drill it intensely all at once?
That's what feels right to many people. There was a fascinating study on this. They had students learn to identify painting styles from 2 made-up artists. Let's call them Pisani and Juras.
Okay.
One group did massed learning. They saw all of Pisani's paintings in a block, then all of Juras' paintings in a block, cramming each artist.
Makes sense. Get familiar with one, then the other.
The other group did spaced learning. They saw paintings from Pisani and Juras alternating, PJ, mixed together.
Okay, so spaced out. What happened?
Well, here's the kicker. The spaced learning group got significantly better at identifying the styles, not just recognizing the paintings they'd seen, but they could actually figure out the style and apply it to new paintings by those artists they'd never seen before.
Wow, so they actually learned the underlying patterns better.
Exactly. But here's the really surprising part. When asked, the students in the mass learning group, the crammers, felt like they had learned more effectively.
No way. Even though the results showed the opposite.
Yep. Our intuitions about what constitutes effective learning can be seriously misleading. We mistake the feeling of fluency that comes from cramming with actual long-term learning.
Wow. So trust the process, not necessarily the feeling.
Basically, yes. Think of it like watering a plant. You don't dump the whole watering can on it once a month.
Right. You give it water consistently over time.
Little sips over time. That's how the roots grow deep. Same with memory.
That's a great analogy. And this isn't just lab stuff, right? Companies use this.
Oh, absolutely. Take Duolingo, the language learning app. They use a really sophisticated version of spaced repetition. It's based on something called half-life regression, or HLR.
Half-life regression. Sounds complex.
It kind of is, but the idea is simple. It's a model that predicts when you specifically are likely to forget a particular word or grammar concept. It tries to estimate the half-life of that memory for you.
So it prompts you to review it just before you forget it.
Pretty much. And this HLR model is way better than older methods. They found it reduced the error in predicting when students would forget something by over 45%.
That's a huge improvement.
It is. And in their user studies, implementing this actually improved daily student engagement by about 12%. People stick with it longer because it feels more effective, and it is more effective.
And the system learns which things are harder for people generally.
Yeah. It can also identify which specific words or grammar rules are just trickier for most learners of that language.
That's clever.
Oh.
So if you want to try this yourself, there are tools.
Definitely. Apps like Anki are very popular, especially for serious learners. Quizlet has spaced repetition features now too, and Memrise is built around it. They basically handle the scheduling for you.
They track when you last saw something, how well you knew it, and then decide when to show it to you again.
Exactly. They take the guesswork out of the timing.
Okay, so we have active recall, pulling info out, and spaced repetition timing the reviews. What else? You mentioned desirable difficulties.
Yes, desirable difficulties. This is sort of the underlying principle behind both active recall and spaced repetition.
How so?
The core idea is that introducing certain short-term impediments, things that make the learning feel harder or less fluent in the moment, actually leads to stronger, more durable, longer-lasting learning.
So learning isn't supposed to feel easy all the time.
Not if you want it to stick, no. If it feels a bit uncomfortable, a bit effortful, you're probably doing it right. Think of it like resistance training for your brain.
No pain, no gain, but for learning.
Kind of, yeah. The struggle strengthens the connections. That effortful retrieval and active recall, that's a desirable difficulty. Forcing yourself to wait before reviewing in spaced repetition, letting yourself forget a little, also a desirable difficulty.
Okay, so embrace the struggle, basically.
Within reason, of course. But yeah, don't shy away from effort. Now, beyond these specific techniques, we also need to think about the foundations, the context for learning.
Right, like optimizing your brain and environment.
Exactly. And number one on that list has to be sleep.
Sleep. Always important.
Crucial for learning. The actual consolidation, the rewiring of neural circuits that is learning. A huge chunk of that happens during sleep, particularly deep sleep.
So pulling an all-nighter to study is
terrible for learning. Research shows that a lack of sleep can slash your ability to learn new things the next day by up to 40%. You simply cannot form new memories effectively without sleep.
40%. That's massive.
It is. And it's not just about forming new memories. Sleep also helps integrate those new memories with your existing knowledge, finding connections. It can even spark new insights or creative ideas while you sleep.
So the sleep you get after you study is just as important, maybe more so, than the sleep before.
Absolutely. You need sleep to lock it in.
Okay, sleep is non-negotiable. What else supports good learning?
Well, think about where you'll actually use the knowledge or skill. This brings us to immersion.
Right, getting into the actual environment.
We tend to learn best when we are fully immersed in the context where the skill applies. Step out of the purely theoretical, out of your comfort zone.
So if you're learning to code, don't just do online exercises. Actually try building a small project.
Exactly. Or for public speaking, don't just read about it. Join a group like Toastmasters and actually give speeches, even if it's terrifying at first.
That sink or swim element can really solidify things.
It really can. And related to that is feedback.
Getting input on how you're doing.
Yes, but not just any feedback. Regular, intense, and ideally constructive feedback is vital. It helps you identify your blind spots, the weak links in your understanding or skill.
And you need to actively seek it out, right? It often doesn't just come to you.
You really do. Ask specific questions. Ask for the tough critique, not just praise. Maybe even record yourself performing the skill, if applicable, and analyze it. It's about seeing yourself clearly.
Okay, and once you get that feedback,
You use it to go deeper, which leads to another point. Overlearning. But maybe not in the way people think.
what do you mean? Not just drilling the same thing over and over.
Not just mindless repetition, no. It's about going beyond simple memorization to understand why something works. What are the underlying principles?
Ah, so deeper understanding, not just rote learning.
Exactly. If you understand the why, you can apply the knowledge much more flexibly in different situations, rather than just rigidly following rules you memorized. You internalize it.
That makes sense. What about focus? Sometimes it's hard to concentrate.
Ah, yes, the flow state. Csikszentmihalyi's concept.
Being in the zone.
Precisely. That state where you're intensely focused on an activity that's challenging but still achievable for you, something you're engaged in, maybe even passionate about.
Time just disappears, right?
Yeah, time melts away, distractions fade, you feel this clarity, maybe even a sense of ecstasy or deep enjoyment. Being able to get into that state significantly boosts learning and performance.
Finding activities that challenge you just the right amount seems key there.
It is. And finally, let's touch on managing your time and energy for learning, especially for big projects.
Okay, like how to avoid feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. Techniques like the Pomodoro Technique can be super helpful here.
The timer method.
Right. Break down your work into focused intervals, traditionally 25 minutes, followed by a short break, maybe 5 minutes.
Then repeat.
Yep. After maybe 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break. It helps maintain focus, prevents burnout, and makes huge tasks feel much more manageable. Just focus on this one 25-minute block.
You could use those blocks for active recall sessions too, I guess.
Absolutely. Like, do a focus 15 or 20-minute active recall session. Little bursts throughout the day. This idea of micro-learning. Breaking things down makes it less daunting and easier to fit into a busy schedule.
Okay, that's a lot of powerful ideas. Active recall, spaced repetition, desirable difficulties, sleep, immersion, feedback, overlearning for understanding, flow, and time management.
Yeah, it's quite a toolkit. But the big picture is that true, effective learning isn't just about passively soaking up information like a sponge.
Right, it's much more active.
Yeah, it's about actively engaging with the material in smart, strategic ways. Embracing that effortful recall, spacing things out properly, accepting that a little bit of difficulty is actually good for long-term retention.
You're not just studying harder, you're studying smarter.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And don't forget the foundations, getting enough sleep, getting good feedback.
And these aren't just like abstract theories for academics.
Not at all. These are practical tools, things you can start implementing today, right now. Whether you're learning a new software for work, studying for a certification, picking up an instrument, or just trying to learn more about the world.
It applies across the board.
Definitely. It's about becoming a more effective lifelong learner.
Okay, so to wrap up, maybe a final thought for our listeners to chew on.
Yeah, how about this? Think about your current study or learning habits. Is there one particular habit you rely on? Maybe something that feels really efficient or comfortable?
Like rereading or highlighting.
Could be. Ask yourself, after hearing all this, could that seemingly efficient habit actually be holding your true learning potential back? What might you change?